In today's video, we're going to talk about the infamous drug lord Merhi Al Ramthan, also known as Syria's Pablo Escobar, whose assassination turned up the heat on drug smugglers of the Middle East. The assassination of Merhi Al Ramthan. The Syrian Captagon kingpin was assassinated during an air raid at age 47 near the Syrian-Jordanian border in the province of Suwaida. The airstrikes left his home in Al-Sha'ab in ruins. His drug factory was destroyed. To make things far worse, his wife and 6 children fell victim to the airstrikes. The assassination happened just a few days after Syria was officially welcomed back to the Arab League, after it was removed in 2011 for its crackdown on peaceful protesters. Syrian officials accepted being removed from the Arab League and expressed their wish to return to that union due to their urge for better Arab cooperation and partnership. Another airstrike reportedly hit an abandoned Iran-linked drugs factory in Dara province, likewise leaving it completely destroyed. That facility was thought to be used by Iran-backed groups to produce and store drugs before smuggling them to Jordan. And the place was probably the meeting point for Hezbollah-paid smugglers as well. Who is responsible for the strikes? Local intelligence sources blame Jordan for the airstrikes, but Jordan's involvement in these attacks is yet to be confirmed. If it proves that Jordan is indeed responsible for all this, it would be just one more airstrike on the very small Jordanian strike list during 12 years of conflict. Jordan's government has not claimed responsibility for these attacks, but its foreign minister has indirectly announced them since he stated that his country will start a military action in Syria in order to neutralize a very dangerous threat in that country. Unlike Jordan's decision to stay silent on this topic, Egypt stated they had no information about Egyptian involvement in any of these strikes. Be that as it may, it's important to point out that Amman not only has accurate intelligence on the southern pro-regime network responsible for producing and trafficking Captagon, but has the capacity to eliminate them if necessary. Why would Jordan start a military operation in Syria? A few days before these unfortunate events, Amman threatened to start military operations in Syria if drug trafficking wasn't curbed. The drug trade has seen deadly border clashes between the Jordanian military and the drug smugglers. Jordan has unwittingly become a destination and main route for the oil-rich Gulf countries for a cheap but very dangerous amphetamine, Captagon. According to Western and Arab states, Captagon is produced in and exported by war-ravaged Syria. The Gulf states demanded that the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad prevent the trade, otherwise external consequences would ensue. Allegedly, the main problem was that the Syrian regime has been financing production and trade of Captagon, meaning they wouldn't willingly accept cutting down the trade. Jordanian officials have continuously expressed their concerns due to rising drug smuggling in recent months in their meetings with Syrian authorities, but it just didn't seem that Syrian authorities would be eager to do anything to stop it. During the meeting of foreign ministers of Syria, Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, which took place in the Jordanian capital Amman on May the 1st, Damascus pledged to identify the producers and transporters of the drug. Subsequently, Syrian authorities made pledges, but have not engaged in any real attempt to clamp down on the trade of Captagon. That would be the main reason for Jordan taking matters into its own hands, as is announced earlier. Who was Merhi Al Ramthan? From a cattle herder to one of the most prominent and wealthiest drug dealers in Southeast Asia, let's take a look at the amazing story of Merhi Al Ramthan. He comes from the small village of Al-Sha'ab, which is located 12.5 miles or 20 kilometers north of the Jordanian border in the Suwaida Desert. His family, the Al Ramthan tribe, is spread between southern Syria and northern Jordan. He used Syria's unfavorable socio-political conditions in his favor, forming his own militia to finish some dirty work for the regime. Slowly, as Captagon pills began entering the war-torn country, he became the manufacturer and trafficker of it, establishing production facilities in Suwaida. Reportedly, he received the help of a man called Ali Bilan, whose responsibility was supervision of the drug production process. As his wealth grew, he changed his focus to buying land and other properties. Eventually, Merhi became extremely wealthy, and he possessed real estate and restaurants in Damascus, dozens of cattle, camels, and cars. To avoid being caught by authorities, or even to avoid being assassinated, he frequently moved around between different parts of Syria or Lebanon. On the other hand, both Hezbollah and Iran denied their involvement in the Captagon trade, calling these accusations Western propaganda, and he operated on the borders of the kingdom using unemployed men to smuggle Captagon pills out of Syria through crossings and porous borders. He was a great supporter of Bashar al-Assad's regime, so had the protection of both the regime and the armed Lebanese group Hezbollah, meaning he could operate freely with no major problems or risk. What is Captagon and how was it smuggled? Captagon is a highly addictive amphetamine that works by stimulating the nervous system and allowing the user to have increased alertness and concentration with little sleep. That's most likely the reason this drug became very popular during the Syrian civil war, and many soldiers were thought to take it regularly. Eventually, Syria became the hub for its production on an industrial scale. Some sources even directly accuse the Syrian government of the Captagon trade because the drug is thought to support the political and economic survival of the country and the regime in the context of international sanctions. The State Security Court reportedly gave Merhi Al Ramthan and others 10 days to surrender, while the Jordanian court convicted him of importing narcotic substances with the means for trafficking them. Judging by the words of Caroline Rose, a senior analyst with a Washington think tank, the Captagon was produced and trafficked by people that were very close to Bashar al-Assad's regime. Most of the time, the trafficking duty was given to very young, unemployed men, including homeless ones as well. As a matter of fact, one 14-year-old boy who was part of that group sadly lost his life during a raid conducted by Jordanian security forces. Smugglers were very attracted to the business because they were paid handsomely, sometimes thousands of dollars, if they successfully completed their tasks. Extensive efforts to seize the Captagon trafficking, the political context of Al Ramthan's success. Intercepted shipments of Captagon were usually headed for the Gulf countries, like the recent 10 million pill transfer from Lebanon. Saudi Arabia has also expressed their concern about smuggling the drugs into the kingdom inside consignments of fruit and other food items. The largest shipment of drugs in this country included 47 million amphetamine pills found in a flour shipment. The Captagon pills were seized in a warehouse in the capital, Riyadh. In the last 6 years, Saudi Arabia has intercepted as many as 600 million Captagon pills at borders, meaning they invested a lot of effort to put an end to the drugs trafficking. Western governments accuse President Assad and his associates, including Merhi Al Ramthan, of generating billions of dollars from drug production. Due to that, several of Assad's close associates, including top Syrian officials, have found themselves on the sanctions list of major Western powers. American, British, and European authorities have formally blamed the Syrian government for the production and export of the drug, accusing Maher Assad, the head of the army's 4th Division and Bashar's brother, of being the key figure in that process. Thanks to all this, Syria is widely regarded as a narco state, whose government is extremely wealthy but completely dependent on the export of Captagon. On the other hand, due to the 12-year-long war, most of the population is pushed below the poverty line. The key to Al Ramthan's success was the help he received from the Assad regime while he was useful. But eventually, his usefulness came to an end, and consequently, Bashar al-Assad decided to sell him out rather than delivering him to Jordan promptly, since he was able to do that with ease. Other sources think that Al Ramthan, despite being a major narco dealer, simply didn't have political bonds strong enough to keep him alive. Well, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and comment on this video. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like what we're doing and want us to continue with more cool content. Until the next time.